I have certain thoughts, inshallah, I'll share with you. What we've got to understand is that, banking is something new. It's not, something that has basis in the deen. It is not, something of the deen. It is of the dunya. Yeah. Uh, what do bankings deal with? They deal with wealth. Historically, there's economies before Islam came on the scene. The two biggest empires was the Iranian Empire and the Byzantine, and before that, the Roman. Byzantine was part of Rome. So they bought and sold using, gold and silver. The piece of silver was called, the Greeks called it a drachma. The piece of gold that was used to buy and sell was called a dinari. When Muslims came on the scene, they did not have a currency of their own. The Rasul was in the time of the Rasul, in the time of the Sahaba, the Khulafa Rashidin, they did not have a currency. They did not, make their own coinage. The first, Muslim coinage we have is Abdul Malik bin Marwan's. The Dome of the Rock in Bayt al-Maqdis. He's the one that had that made, and he's the first Muslim ruler to have, the stamp coinage made. Now, his coin, you can actually, if you Google for it, Google for the standing Khalif coin. Standing Khalif coin. Because you'll find that, on one side is an image of Abdul Malik bin Marwan, and the other is the Shahada. And before that, the pieces of gold and pieces of silver had, the head of, whoever ruler, Roman or Greek or Persian. And that's, historically how they bought and sold. And it's interesting, people who make a point saying that, you can't draw, you can't make cartoons, you can't do this. Right? The Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they had pieces of gold and silver which had images of human beings in their pockets or in their purses. They had no problem. But again, it's a side point. Yeah? So to say that, Muslim economy should be based on gold coins or silver coins is a misnomer. Has no basis. In the Kitab and Sunnah, Allah does not tell us that you must trade in gold or silver. Yeah? That's the first. Why? Because the economy is dictated by, world practice, not just by, a group of Muslims. If the Muslim world got together and they agreed that we are going to deal in this, way of buying and selling, that is something else. But, for the last 1400 years, Muslims have not agreed. And, for over 100 years, we've had, independent Muslim countries, and they have not agreed. What, currency is the strongest in the world now? Come on, someone please give me an answer. What is the strongest currency worldwide? that is recognized and accepted, and majority of people will trade it and are trading it.
US
Dollar.
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 US dollar.
Yeah, the American dollar. Yeah, the American dollar. Okay, go back to before the Second World War. Was the dollar the
Gold.
strongest? No, it
No, no.
wasn't. Yeah, you know who made it the strongest currency in the world?
Jewish
Anybody
people.
want to have? Pardon?
Jewish
Sabir, can
people.
you repeat? I didn't hear what you said.
Jewish people. Jewish.
No. And I repeat that. No. Muslims, specifically the Saudi state. Specifically the Saudi state. They made, the American dollar the strongest currency, and why it's traded in the world is because they made an agreement with, the president of the United States. There are still photos, and you can even download, the conversation that took place. Abdulaziz agreed that, Aramco will, explore oil for them, and then they will buy and sell oil worldwide, not with the Saudi currency, but in American currency. And that is why it has been. So, people who go on about Muslims should be selling, dealing in gold and silver, yeah, it's a misnomer. Because it's excuse my French, I was going to swear, but it's bloody Muslims who've made the dollar what it is. The stupidity of, the bloody Wahhabis, Bedouins who've destroyed, Muslims all world over. And, with this thing, it's like they created, the World Bank is created by Muslim money, and it's strangling Muslim world. It's just that, as I said, the Muslim economy can't function without, the world economy. That's how the world is. It's like, before, these Muslim countries came into being, they did not have, state banks. They did not have state currency. They have taken on that one. No one can say that the ulama were not there to guide them. They did not want guidance from ulama. They wanted to replicate the West, because the West is the people that supported these tyrants, these tyrant kings, these tyrant dictators, and it's what we are with. It's like, the biggest centers of, Muslim finance is the Gulf. Yeah, is the Gulf. They're not bothered about, that's where the biggest banks in the world are as well. So to say that, this is just, someone asked me once, and this is, by the way, this is not a joke, and I mean this seriously. Someone asked me about, Islamic mortgages. I said, a halal pay. Yeah? Because the thing is, just because you put halal next to it, doesn't make it halal. Yeah? So you've got a bank, now you're calling it an Islamic bank. It's a bloody bank. Yeah? You are giving a loan, you're calling it an Islamic loan. Yeah? It's like, a memory I want to share with you, from the early 1980s. We have a Jamaat, Sheikh Abdul Qadir Sufi, rahimahullah, Allah, give him the highest regard, who passed away. One of the things he did was he coined, the silver dirham. So I was there when, they had a fair in a hall and they introduced the silver dirham. So I bought the silver dirham, with pounds. And then I went to their stores. I said, will you sell me, because I was buying books, with the dirham? He says, no, you got to give me pounds. I says, what's the point of bringing a dirham, a silver dirham, if you can't buy and sell with it? So, the whole thing of this is Islamic finance, it's not. You've just put the word Islam next to it. Yeah? So what we've got to understand is there are banks, yeah, who give decent products. Some, will say, look, the interest rate is this. Yeah? You go to an Islamic bank, they will say, we will buy the house, you will pay us rent, and then you will pay us, a monthly payment as well. Yeah? The thing I said, halal poor. Yeah? I will go to the bank and get a mortgage. Because, it's cheaper than getting the Islamic mortgage. No, seriously, it's cheaper. And the thing is that, the whole point of interest is not riba. Riba is where it is, multiple interest, compounded. There's interest upon interest, where, the poor man can never get out of debt. Now, the understanding of interest, I might be wrong. As I said, I'm no expert on it. But, interest is, the dollar now. If you go to the bank and take a loan out of, $1,000, now, the bank will say, after a year, you've got to give me more than 1,000, because we are going to charge you this amount of interest. So our people will say that is riba. Okay, fine. Let me explain. Will the value of £1,000 in a year's time be £1,000? No. Yeah? So how do I make sure that if I give you £1,000 now, you will give me £1,000 in a year's time? That's what interest is. Yeah? Because the thing is, I would love to see Muslims having an interest-free system. But to date, no Muslim state has brought one. I'll give you an example. In the UK, we've got, certain banks that carry the word Islamic. So one of them was the Islamic Bank of Great Britain. Yeah? It's now been brought by, a Qatari family. Who they banked with? Have a guess. So this is a bank. It's registered as a bank. It runs as a bank. But
And the World Bank.
Say it again?
World Bank?
No. It banks with Lloyds Bank. It's a UK high street bank. So the thing is, why don't I go straight to Lloyds Bank? Why do I need to go to the Islamic Bank of the UK? Because they're banking with Lloyds. Yeah? The thing is, is a conversation I had in the early 2000s with a teacher of mine who, I have some of the Wataf, and he is an expert in Islamic finance. He said, we began in the 70s, with this concept of Islamic finance, that in 30 years' time, we will have 0% interest. He said, if you look at the base rate of the banks in Saudi in 2012, it was 4%. He said, we failed. Why? Why they failed is because they are dealing with the worldwide economy. The worldwide economy deals in fiat banking. And finally, before I go, the thing about cryptocurrencies. Have you got money in the bank where they pay you interest on it? No? Okay. Cryptocurrencies, if they are, because the UK, the Bank of England is in the process of introducing a currency of their own. If they introduce it, then it would be legit. Where it is not banked, where it's not backed by state banks, it's a risk, and it's a risk too much. You do it with your own risk. But the future, because we have now, because of the coronavirus, we're halfway towards a paperless economy, because now people don't want to touch money that other people have touched because of the coronavirus. So a lot of it is online banking and with the card. So as long as someone pays the card off before any interest, that's fine. It's understandable. Just make sure you manage your money in such a way that you are not paying interest. I mean, sorry, where you don't have to. You're not in a position where there is things. The whole Islamic economy, other economy is morally, ethically and morally, and you make sure that you bank with people who are bankers who are ethical and moral to the Muslim way, then these Islamic products. No, it's not haram. Hanafi, this fatwa that if you work in the bank and is your income halal or haram? By Hanafi fiqh, your income is halal, because the asl has changed. Is the income of the bank they are paying you with, so they are paying you with their money. You're not earning the haram. The asl has changed. It's like vinegar. Wine is haram, but if it changes to vinegar, it's halal. Taking interest, again, if you're in a situation, I am of those that you should not leave interest to the non-Muslims, because in the UK there are certain people who will not take interest from the banks, so their money, I'm talking about hundreds and thousands of pounds, they are given to charities who go and spread Christianity abroad. So those people will have to answer for their actions, because they're trying to think that they are escaping from a major thing, but then they are creating a problem, because their money is being used to propagate Christianity. So it's like one Turkish sheikh said that people who do that, I will stand in front of Jannah and stop them going in, because your money was used to spread Christianity. Yes, anyway, if anybody, that's all I've got to say. As I said, that the interest, if you understand interest the way I explained it, it's not riba. Yeah, it's not riba. The riba is where it's too high and people can't pay it back. There are certain situations that happen, but where it's regulated, it's like even in Hanafi fiqh, they have two different opinions. Is it Darul Harb or Darul Islam? And in Darul Harb, they say that you can take interest and give interest. If it's a student laying some in how the system works in the UK, it's fine. Just to say Western country, I don't know. I know the situation in the UK that they will give the students a loan for studies. You need to get a job that will over £21,000 a year. You do not get a job that is threshold. After a certain time, they will write that debt off. Yeah. I don't know about anything about the United States. In the UK, it's before it used to be free, and then now you've got to pay it back. Is that once you get a job, usually most people who've got a university education, they will get a decent job and they pay it back, and it's not exorbitant. They don't make life difficult, but if you don't get after a certain year, the government just writes the debt off. So in the UK, I don't have a problem in saying it's permissible. Any other country, I don't. Inshallah. Next. I've already spoken about cryptocurrency, Sabri. More than dua, Allah give you shifa. Allah give shifa to all that are ill. But if anybody is affected by corona, there's two things that they should do. One is, a high dosage of vitamin C and D. High dosage of vitamin C and D, and make sure that they eat well, because it really takes. I'm just talking about what happened to me and my family, and also, if your breathing is affected, because that's where it really attacks, is inhale steam. Get a bowl, hot water, put a towel on top and inhale the steam. It really helps. But if you can't eat little. Just eat, because it does affect your strength afterwards. But ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم اشف مرضانا ومرضى المسلمين. على كل خير سلك من بابك صلى الله عليه وسلم وعبادك الصالحين ونعوذ بك من كل شر استعاذك من بابك صلى الله عليه وسلم وعبادك الصالحين كاملا وصلي السلام تاما على سيدنا محمد الذي ترحل به العقد وتنفرج به الكرب وتقضى به الحوائج وتنال به الرغائب وحسن الخواتم ويستسقى الغمام بوجهك الكريم في كل لمحة عدد كل ما لك سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام والحمد لله رب العالمين وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.